Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your source material and unearth the most critical insights. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into the, well, truly unprecedented landscape of artificial intelligence. Is this just another tech boom, or are we witnessing something fundamentally different?
That's really the core question, isn't it? And based on the sources we have here, it certainly feels like something bigger. We're looking at data showing AI user growth,
Yeah.
usage, capital spending, all converging in ways we just haven't seen before.
Right. So our mission today is to cut through some of the noise, look at the key metrics, and really give you a clear picture of what's driving this. From user adoption, that explosion really, to the huge infrastructure build out and the economics behind it all.
Exactly. Connecting the dots between the tech advances and what they actually mean in the real world.
Okay, let's start with adoption, the speed here. It's just staggering.
It is. And what's fascinating isn't just the numbers, but the velocity. Take ChatGPT hitting 1 million users in 5 days. Historians are calling that the fastest ramp ever for a standalone product.
5 days. That's incredible.
Yeah, and now, over 800 million weekly active users. That's an 8x jump in just 17 months. It points to these incredibly rapid network effects kicking in.
So it's fundamentally different from, say, how the internet rolled out.
It's completely. The internet took something like 23 years to hit 90% penetration. We're seeing data suggesting a major U.S. LLM hit that 90% mark in, 3 years. It's a totally different adoption curve.
And it's not just consumers hopping on board, is it? This is seeping into other areas.
Absolutely. You see parallel growth in the developer world. Look at the NVIDIA ecosystem. That's a decent proxy, right? It's up 6x to 6 million developers in 7 years.
6 million, wow.
Yeah, and it signals this shift in how knowledge moves. We went from, the printing press static, physical, to the internet active digital. Now the sources are calling this active digital and generative delivery.
That's the iPhone moment idea they mentioned.
Exactly. That breakthrough moment that just democratizes access, sparks huge adoption, and builds a whole new platform, like the iPhone did for mobile.
Makes sense. So shifting to the enterprise side, what are you seeing there? Is it just about cutting costs?
Not primarily, no. It's undeniable over half the S&P 500 are mentioning AI on earnings calls now. But crucially, the focus seems overwhelmingly on growth, on generating new revenue streams, not just efficiency plays.
Okay.
And you see in the public sector, too. The FDA approved, 223 AI-enabled medical devices last year alone. And AI is apparently cutting medical R&D timelines by 30 to 80% in some cases.
30 to 80%, that's transformative.
It really is. It's about fundamental change, not just tweaking things.
Okay, so this explosion in users in enterprise use, it must put immense pressure on the infrastructure, right? The actual hardware.
Oh, absolutely. The investment needed is just monumental. The big 6 U.S. tech firms, Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon's AWS, Meta, their combined capital expenditure, it surged 63% from 2014 to about $212 billion this year.
$212 billion.
And by last year, AI wasn't just some R&D line item. It was core CapEx. As fundamental as building a new factory.
Jensen Huang at NVIDIA calls data centers AI factories. How fast are these actually going up?
The speed is pretty extraordinary. xAI's Colossus supercomputer, 200,000 GPUs. They built that in 122 days.
122 days for a supercomputer.
Yeah, faster than anyone expected. And it's not necessarily an outlier. They're using prefabricated modules, streamlining processes. Data centers are popping up almost at consumer tech speed, not old school real estate speed.
And NVIDIA's right in the middle of that.
Hugely. They account for maybe 25% or more of global data center CapEx now. Their installed GPU compute power, growing 130% annually for the last 6 years.
But these AI factories, this rapid build-out, that takes a ton of energy, doesn't it? Can the grid handle it?
That's the million-dollar question, or maybe trillion-dollar question. It's a major challenge. Data centers used about 1.5% of the world's electricity in 2024. And that share has been growing about 12% a year since 2017.
And the U.S. uses a big chunk of that.
About 45% of the global total, yeah. And here's the kicker, it seems to align with Jevons paradox.
Remind us what that is.
It's this idea that as technology becomes more efficient, like NVIDIA's new GPUs using vastly less energy per token than older ones, the overall demand for that technology and thus its total energy use actually increases. Because it's cheaper and better, you just use it more.
Ah, right. So efficiency gains don't automatically lead to less consumption overall.
Exactly. It's a complex feedback loop.
Okay, beyond the infrastructure, let's talk about the AI models themselves. The sources suggest performance is converging rapidly, maybe even surpassing human levels.
It seems so, yeah. On benchmarks like MMLU that measures general knowledge and reasoning AI systems, apparently passed average human accuracy levels in 2024.
Past human level.
And maybe even more striking, look at the Turing test results for March this year. 73% of AI responses were mistaken for human. One GPT 4.5 conversation. Testers thought it was human with 87% certainty.
87%. So we're talking conversations that are becoming almost indistinguishable.
Increasingly so.
Maybe good.
It suggests we're crossing this threshold where AI isn't just a tool doing a task. It's potentially becoming a partner in dialogue. That opens up huge possibilities.
And the economics. Are these incredibly powerful models getting cheaper to run?
That's the other side of the coin. Training costs are still sky high, even rising maybe up to 2,400 times over 8 years, some models costing $1 billion to train now.
$1 billion?
Yeah, but the cost to run the model, the inference cost per token, that's falling dramatically. So powerful AI is becoming much more accessible to actually deploy and use, even if creating the absolute cutting edge is incredibly expensive.
How does that cost dynamic affect developers, especially with open source options emerging?
It's huge for developers. We're seeing massive uptake. 63% of devs now using AI tools, up from 44% the year before. GitHub AI repos are up about 175% in 16 months.
What?
And the open source part is key. Models like Meta's Llama 3 or DeepSeek, they're closing the performance gap with the big closed models, but at a fraction of the cost. Mark Zuckerberg even predicted open source will be the dominant model type for developers by 2025.
So more power, lower running costs, and open options that really fuels innovation.
Absolutely. It gives developers flexibility, lowers barriers, and lets them build on top of these systems much more easily.
Okay, let's shift to the impact on work. This seems like a major theme. How real and how fast is this changing how people work?
It feels very real and very fast. You hear CEOs like Shopify saying basically, if you're not using AI, you're falling behind. Stagnation is slow motion failure, I think was the quote.
Strong words.
Yeah. And Duolingo has flat out declared itself an AI-first company, using it for hiring, performance reviews, even linking headcount to automation. It's not just talk U.S. firms. U.S. firms using AI jumped 21% just quarter over quarter in early 2025.
And are they seeing actual productivity gains?
The data suggests yes. One source showed a 14% productivity boost for customer support agents using AI. They could handle more complex stuff faster.
Which ties into the job market shifts, I suppose. Jensen Huang's quote about not losing your job to AI, but to someone using AI.
Exactly. The numbers are stark. Between early 2018 and spring 2025, AI job postings in the U.S. apparently surged nearly 450%.
450%.
While non-AI IT postings actually declined by 9%. It underlines Huang's point. He argues AI is maybe the biggest chance we have to close the tech divide, boost global GDP. It points towards a big reskilling need, a shift towards roles that leverage AI.
Okay, so that's the digital workspace. But what about AI interacting with the physical world? You mentioned physical agents.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting, I think. AI systems that directly act in the physical world. Look at Tesla's full self-driving miles driven are up roughly 100x in under 3 years.
100x.
And their latest version, version 12, apparently replaced over 300,000 lines of traditional C++ code with neural nets. That's a huge architectural shift towards learned, adaptive behavior for complex real-world situations.
And we see it beyond cars.
Definitely. Waymo apparently has over a quarter of the rideshare market now in San Francisco. In defense, Endural's seeing double revenue growth year over year with its autonomous systems, and agriculture carbon robotics using AI for weeding. Saved over 100,000 gallons of glyphosate herbicide across 230,000 acres. That's efficiency and environmental impact.
So AI is also accelerating science.
Massively. Protein sequencing models, their complexity measured by parameters, has grown almost 300% annually for 4 years. AlphaFold helped generate 1,000 times more synthetic protein structure data than we had from experiments. That hugely speeds up biology research, drug discovery.
And multimodal AI, processing images, video, audio too.
That's another explosion. An 1,150% increase in multimodal model releases in just 2 years. This enables stuff like a field engineer pointing their phone camera at faulty equipment and getting a plain language diagnosis. Really powerful stuff.
Okay, and quickly, AI agents, how are they different from, say, a chatbot?
Think of them as a step beyond, not just responding, but acting. They're designed as intelligent, long-running processes that can handle complex, multi-step tasks on their own customer support flows, scheduling, research, coding.
So more autonomous.
Exactly. Google searches for AI agent are up over 1,000% in about 16 months. Big players like OpenAI, Salesforce, Amazon are all launching agentic products. It's moving AI from just an interface to an actual action layer.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, all this innovation, all this investment, it must be driving intense competition, right? Globally.
Absolutely. The sources talk about AI monetization threats, competition, open source pressure, and significantly the rise of China. It's framed very much as an AI space race.
A space race.
Yeah, with serious geopolitical stakes. China's accelerated its capabilities dramatically, especially since their Made in China 2025 push. We're seeing concrete results. Alibaba's Qwen model outperforming GPT-4o on some reasoning tests. Baidu's Ernie model matching GPT 4.1 performance, but priced way lower.
So a real challenge to Western dominance.
It certainly looks that way. It signals very serious global competition heating up.
But despite that competition, some AI companies are showing incredible revenue growth.
They are. Anthropic's annualized revenue apparently jumped 20x to $2 billion in just 18 months. Glean's up 10x to $100 million ARR in 2 years. The data suggests AI startups are hitting $5 million ARR, about 35% faster than comparable SaaS companies did back in 2018.
But it takes huge amounts of capital, as we discussed.
Exactly. The high capital intensity game.
Does this kind of high burn, high growth phase remind you of previous tech waves?
It does, and the sources draw that parallel explicitly. They point to companies like Apple, Amazon, Uber, Tesla. They all burned through massive amounts of cash for years. Tesla lost over $9 billion between 2009 and 2018 before hitting positive free cash flow.
Right, years of losses before hitting profitability.
Exactly. So these current AI players like OpenAI, which might look expensive on a simple revenue multiple, but maybe more reasonable per user, they're in that same kind of speculative and frenetic phase. The huge question for investors, for everyone is, can they convert this massive growth and investment into sustainable free cash flows down the line?
Like the tech giants before them managed to do.
That's the multi-trillion-dollar bet. essentially.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the informed learner, trying to make sense of it all?
Well, this deep dive really highlights a landscape defined by unprecedented speed and scale.
Hmm.
AI isn't just another tool anymore. It's rapidly becoming core infrastructure. It's transforming industries, reshaping global power dynamics faster than we've really seen before.
Right, the compute growth, the model accessibility, the adoption everywhere. It suggests a future where AI is as fundamental as, say, electricity or the internet.
Pretty much. And the race is clearly on, commercially and geopolitically.
Hmm.
The opportunities look immense, but so do the challenges of managing such rapid change.
Which leads to a final thought, perhaps.
Yeah, that leaves us with this question. If AI really is, as one source put it, the greatest opportunity to close the technology divide and increase global GDP,
Hmm.
then what are the crucial, maybe overlooked, societal investments we need to be making right now? How do we ensure this incredibly powerful transformation actually benefits everyone and doesn't just widen existing gaps?